The Intermezzo Opus 76, numbers 3 in A flat, 4 in B flat of Johannes Brahms. I got all that right. Yes. David Golub, my guest on Around New York today. You are a participant in the 92nd Street Y Schubertiade,
yes,
which is all about Schubert. What is a Schubertiade for people?
Well, the Schubertiade originally were the gatherings at various houses of Schubert's friends, where a lot of his music was first played, and maybe only played. And it was, his friends would get together, he would play, he had friends who were wonderful musicians, singers, and string players as well. And those were the original Schubertiades. Recently there have been many wonderful, actually, organizations of concerts across also a number of years, leading up to the 1997, which is the bicentennial, actually, of Schubert's birth.
You know, many people know that Schubert had these evening soirees, but I didn't know they were called Schubertiades. Now, he's famous for, I don't know what he's most famous for, but songs might be.
I think
one
so.
of the things he wrote over 600 songs. Were his songs well known in his lifetime?
Certain of them were very, very well known.
They were.
They were among the works that were published and actually performed.
Like
and
the Trout might be.
The Trout, definitely, and the Earl King.
Earl King.
Gretchen at the Spinning Wheel, for instance. These were, I think, were quite well known. And in fact, some of them were even probably attained the status of popular songs. It was the larger scale works, the symphonies and the larger chamber music works, with certain exceptions, which were, well, many people didn't even know that he wrote them. You know, in 1928, which was actually the centennial of his death, Rachmaninoff, who was a great composer and of course a great pianist, a very great pianist, and was a man in his 50s, remarked to a friend of his that he hadn't even realized that Schubert had written piano sonatas.
I remember reading that.
And
that he said that.
It was totally, they were totally obscure.
It sounds amazing to us now.
Yes, it's hard to believe.
Schubert was so gifted. You say he's influenced so many composers, and I know before the show we were talking a little about Mahler, and you were...
Well, you know, I was talking before about the subliminal landscape. This is something that was, I think, very influential. It was also very consonant with the times, but a lot of Schumann comes out of that, particularly a lot of late Schumann, without which it's hard to imagine the psychological climate and atmosphere of Mahler, or for that matter, Strauss, particularly the Strauss of Salome and Electra.
Really?
And but even Schubert, I think, actually in Mahler, I think the influence of Schubert is very clear. There's, well, for instance, from Winterreise, the song Der Wegweiser, one of the main phrases is, and then if you take the last of the Wayfarer songs, Die zwei blauen Augen of Mahler, you have this. The same composer could have written that.
It's true.
Certainly, you don't feel a distance of 65 or 70 years.
Winterreise, the first little bit you played from Winterreise, is a great song cycle, we should say, of Schubert.
Oh, right.
And this second piece was of Mahler.
The Songs of the Wayfarer.
Which is another song cycle on that of Mahler. Both great composers, but you can see when you put, I never thought of that. Thank you for pointing that out.
Well, I think in Mahler, a particular influence of Schubert, and he, of course, knew
particularly in the songs, too. Play some Schubert?
Sure.
What would you like to do?
Perhaps another impromptu from Opus 90, number 3 in G-flat major.
Terrific. David Golub is my guest in this hour of Around New York. the Schubert Impromptu number 3 in G flat from his Opus 90, music of Franz Schubert. I love that piece. I love. Who wouldn't love that piece?
Perhaps one of the most beautiful pieces.
Oh, I love that piece.
Certainly a candidate for the top 10.
David Golub is my guest on Around New York this evening, and we'll be back in just a moment.
She had not known when she married that this exquisite valley would be hers each day. But now that she was required to leave it for who knew how long, she needed to fill her eyes to the brim with it.
James Antonio, Isaiah Sheffer, and Kathleen Widdows read stories by Russell Baker, E.B. White, and Roberta Silman on the next Selected Shorts.
Sunday afternoon at 4 on FM 93.9 and Sunday evening at 6 on AM 820.
Support for WNYC is provided by subscribers to the 1995-96 season of Great Performers at Lincoln Center. For complete brochure and subscription information, call Center Charge 212-721-6500.
This is Around New York. I'm Steve Sullivan, and David Golub is my guest on Around New York, and he's been playing some Schubert and talking about Schubert's influence on lots of composers. He has an album that is, I keep saying it's new, it's not brand new.
Not brand new.
Last year, did you record it?
It was recorded last year. It was released in, I think, November.
And it's all music of Schubert?
All Schubert.
Let's sample something from it. What would you like to do?
Maybe the last of the Dreiklavierstücke, number 3 in C major.
Great. This is music of Franz Schubert, as played by my guest this hour on Around New York, David Golub.